What would be a hilarious thing to say to a surgeon before the anesthesia kicks in 5 seconds later? Before we start with the first story, please hit subscribe and ring the notification bell to stay updated with us. Story 1. I was getting the shock treatment for an irregular heartbeat, and after they gave me the shot, my doctor asked me some out-of-left-field stupid question. I didn't answer the question, but said something to the effect of, "That sounds like a stupid question to distract me until the meds knock me out." All the medical people in the room started laughing hysterically. Afterwards, I found out that he uses that same question every time. And one of them had just asked him why he uses that same question before I was brought into the room. He said because it was a good question that makes people think, and doing so distracts them until the meds take effect. Edit. Irregular heartbeat, not regular. That would be silly. Story 2. I was being put under for a relatively minor operation on my foot as a teenager. I'm in bed in the prep room, already hooked up to, and forth the anesthesiologist comes in and sits down right next to the bed and leans in with his elbows on his knees as he talks to me about what the anesthesia was going to feel like. All of a sudden, I am woozy. I look down over the edge of the bed, and he's holding my IV tube and injecting a syringe into the port. He just went and did it, mid-sentence. I don't think he even looked away from me. According to my mom, I swung my head up to look at him, said, "Ooh, so you're a sneaky bastard," and then immediately went out. Story 3. No matter what others say, I understand your perspective. My few relatives are practicing doctors. They also once helped my father when he fell head first 2 floors onto a brick. The thought of losing a family member this close gives me extreme horror. Seeing their life, being prepared for any medical emergency, even when asleep, fills me with limitless respect. It is natural for people to not joke around when a life is on the line, especially for the person going through with the surgery. He just wants to get rid of the problem he is having, and joking around will instinctively not make sense to most people. That being said, there are exceptions. They might have good intentions, like joking around to keep the situation less concerning for their family, but it usually has the opposite effect, where people start thinking, if this guy is not taking his medical condition seriously, why should I? Not doctors. They know the consequences of not taking their patients seriously, so they just have to deal with it. Story 4. When the nurse asked me what op I was having, common last-minute check question, I gestured over my shoulder at the NT surgeon and said, "Over yonder is going to stick a Dremel up my nose and evict both Phyllis and a chunk of overgrowing cartilage, but he's under strict instructions to not breach the brain barrier, unless he can guarantee he only removes the depressed brain cells." For context, I was having sinus surgery with both a mini FAs and a polyp removal, and my wife went to med school as either the ENT surgeon, said, and nearly burst a gut laughing. And the poor nurse was so flustered and shocked at my answer, apparently I went out like a light, and they couldn't start operating for about 10 minutes cause Matt and couldn't stop giggling. Story 5. Not hilarious, but a quick funny convo with the anesthesiologist. Was getting prepped for my level 4 shoulder surgery and my 6th time being put under. When I saw him walk up to me, I laughed a little and said, "You gotta be the dope man." Tall, lanky, 50 seconds, long salt and pepper hair and a messy ponytail, haven't shaved in a few days, calm and directed. Told him I knew he'd done this 1,000 times, so I don't want to wake up up or not wake at all. Do your best for me. And he did for sure. They gave me a hell of a dope combo before going in that had me beside myself, quite literally. Surgery went great. I woke up bright and alert like I never even went to sleep. When I woke, he was standing behind the nurse's station, leaned on the counter talking with 2 nurses. I says to him, "You are the f***ing man." That was the best anesthesia experience ever. No one has ever gotten the combo right as good as you done. The other nurses laughed a little and high-fived him. He smiled big and thanked me. I was out of there, headed home in less than an hour from waking. Story 6. Well, not a specific thing, but had twilight anesthesia for surgery in my toe. I talked about playing hockey a lot, ran my mouth non-stop, accused the anesthesiologist that the main reason he was there was so I had someone to talk to and wouldn't distract my surgeon. I could tell she's surgeon was holding in laughter here and there behind the impromptu curtain. Pretty much for the hour, 45-60 meters, I didn't stop talking, and it was all live hockey. Mind you, I had only been playing for like under 2 years at that point. So it was all about beginners, absolutely terrible, boring AF to watch. Nobody cares about ice hockey. That was also the highest I've ever been. Anesthesiologists really know how to party. Story 7. I'm sure no one will see this, but The first time I was put under anesthetic was for wisdom tooth extraction. I remember the anesthesiologist asking me to count backwards from 5, and I calmly said 5 full, and was out. After that experience, I decided the next time I needed anesthetic, I would not be calm, but try to count down as fast as possible. As luck would have it, a few years later I severely burned the fingers on my right hand in an industrial accident, score, and needed to be put under for skin grafts. I'm not gonna lie, I was ready. The anesthesiologist pushed the chemical into my IV and said, "Count backwards from 100. 100? I yelled, genuinely mad, and was out. Story 8. Last summer I got severely mauled by dogs. As the surgery team was preparing me, I was bantering with them, peeing into a urinal held by one tech while another squeezed water on my leg wounds. Oh, now this is a weird dual sensation. Def not my kink, after the entire staff, including people called in to see my extensive wounds, and gasping. Oh my God. Everyone reached a consensus that this was the second worst animal mauling anyone at that hospital had seen after a cougar mauling at a wildlife refuge. Wait, cougar like an Urban Dictionary? Annoyed character voice. Just fix the thing, pal, and leave my dating life out of this. Story 9. Only time I've gone under was for my wisdom teeth removal. I am for some reason very put off by dentists, and was therefore extremely nervous going into this whole thing. Doc came in all happy-go-lucky and cheery and asked me, if you could go on vacation anywhere in the world, where would it be? And I knew he was trying to be nice or whatever, but I just instinctively said, I don't care. And he just replied, all right, so we are nervous. Noted. When they put the mask on, they told me to count back from 10, and every time I got to 8, I'd fall asleep, quickly wake up and say, sorry, I fell asleep. They would reassure me that's okay, I'm supposed to. It happened about times before I was finally out. IDK if this is funny or not, but now that it's over and I think about it, I think it's funny. Story 10. When I was wheeled into or everybody was talking and music was playing. They had given me verses not even 5 minutes before, so details are hazy, but I remember asking if they could play Fly Me to the Moon. I remember somebody trying to sing it and asking this one, and then they put that mask on me and I huffed it like a motherfucker. I know it's just oxygen. Then I heard, we're giving you your medicine, and I woke up in recovery. Literally nothing. This is a bit off topic, but it was the biggest nothing burger everything. I had Googled what it's like before, and everyone was like, oh, it burns, and oh, they ask you to count down, and blah, blah. Nah. I had made it a strong point to the anesthesiologist that I was a heavy weed smoker. I guess we had different definitions because I was gone literally instantly. No fight. No nothing, just boop, woke up high. Story 11. Surgeons here, things like this almost never happen because people are actually anxious and nervous about what is going to happen. The expected discomfort, the unpleasant clinical smells, and the disconcerting environment. I've only had a couple of jokers in my career, and honestly they were a pain in the ass. During the consultation and H&P visits, everything was a joke or a double entendre, and any question I asked was returned with a joke or quip. I had to take a time out with the patient and tell him that it needs to stop. It was uncomfortable for me and embarrassing for him. Practicing medicine is complicated, intensely so, and especially when preparing to perform an irreversible surgical procedure. We have a protocol, a sort of script, that we go through and need clear answers to stay on script. It's like pre-flight checks before an aircraft takes off. Any deviation from the unexpected uses up bandwidth that I am dedicating to ensuring everything goes according to plan. His need to gratify his inner jester does not trump my oath and obligation to practice competently. Story 12. Honestly, the 3-5 seconds between when the propofol hits and a person goes out still amuses me. I have discovered that 90% of the population are cuddly drunks. Some people seem to have sudden random thoughts they must express immediately, but are never quite able to finish the sentence. So it is random jokes or thoughts. Though my favorite comment I ever got was, "Whoa, that's the best trip I've had since 1968. Estimated time of arrival." Another fun comment we got from a male patient in a room that had an all-female staff that day. You know, when I pictured myself alone in a room, naked and surrounded by women, it was an entirely different situation. I usually love joking around and messing with people who seem amenable to it. It tends to relax people and lighten the mood if you can get them to giggle at a couple corny jokes. Story 13. I'm a natural redhead. My last run-in with surgery was for a pretty scary diagnosis, and I was feeling pretty helpless and terrified. The anesthesiologist came into pre-op to talk to me and asked if I'd had any reactions before. I explained that the last time I'd been partially under for a minor procedure, I woke up panicked, ripped off sensors and tried to run, and subsequently flashed an entire recovery room. He chuckled and told me he hadn't had a runner in a while, but he thought he could take me. They were surprised I was still awake in the operating room, and I distinctly remember seeing my doctor, but I was sobbing because I was scared. When I woke up, it was like someone had given me a Xanax, cool as a cucumber. I made everyone tell me about their pets because I was by a fridge with pet photos. It was delightful. The nurse asked if I wanted anything to drink and didn't believe I wanted black coffee. She went so far as to ask my mom if it was normal for me, and my mom was cracking up when she said, "Yes, it's the only way she drinks it." Story 14. I don't remember this entirely, but when I was 17, I was taken to the hospital in screaming agony, very nasty kidney infection, and given some truly amazing painkillers that had me off to the Feywild. They plonked me into a wheelchair and took me for a CT scan, where I supposedly took one look at the machine and yelled, "Me, it's the Stargate." Apparently, I was loud enough that another nearby patient with delusions paranoia heard my outburst and was bugging the nurses for hours about the no longer secret space portal technology kept at the hospital, and kept demanding access to it. Once I was out of my own drug haze and I heard what happened, I apologized for inadvertently setting off the other patient. The doctor jokingly replied, "Don't worry, this happens all the time. Good thing the government also supplies us with their latest memory erasure tech." Story 15. Hello. Over 200 surgical procedures here. My go-to has been starting to confess to a terrible crime, but timing it so I go out right before revealing the most important detail, and divulging that I've hid a tremendous amount of money, but I also never get to the final details fast enough. Eventually, I gave up on jokes and switched to asking everyone's names before they put me under, and then recalling them soon after being woken up. They seem way more entertained by this. There is one joke that you shouldn't tell without letting one of the surgeons or anesthesiologists in on. Make sure someone knows that you haven't actually eaten before doing this in the final moments of consciousness. I place a hand on my stomach and say, I ate way too much this morning." Alright folks, that's a wrap. If you like more of this, please hit the thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. You can also share your thoughts in the comment below. I'll see you in the next video.